they might be homesteading. One of the neat things about our town, City Tempe, is they've recently started offering out free composting bins. So basically they're old trash bins that they've repurposed for the sake of composting. So I wanted to share with you how I like to set up my composting bins. So the first thing we do is fill the bottom of the bin with a bunch of what I'll call more heavy browns, old cardboard, old paper bags, toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls, stuff like that. And in particular, I like to use Amazon boxes because almost everything on these is recyclable. So you go ahead and just sort of rip it up, build up a base layer. When you're building up a compost bin, what you want to do is maintain a ratio somewhere in the range of 40 to 1, 30 to 1 carbons to nitrogens. And so browns are carbons, greens are nitrogens. So we've got that in. And then what I take is a bunch of softer paper carbons that will break down more easily. The main thing with these are like the weekly flyers that show up in the post box, is you want to stay away from highly glossy stuff on thicker cardstock, because that may contain chemicals in it that will break down and end up in your compost. So not necessarily what you'd call a good thing. The other thing is you can compost, junk mail, and even if it has the plastic windows in it, because what will happen is that when you get to the end of your compost and you decide to screen it out, when you screen it, those bits of plastic will come out. Now, for those of us who are anal retentive, you can also just remove them ahead of time to not worry about it. More adverts. If you still get phone books, these are good carbons to go in. The thing is around where I am, you can't not get them. And so, rather than throw them in the recycling bin for the city to pick up, I like to tear them up and throw them in the compost bin. So once you've got this initial layer of browns, what I like to add are what I call green browns. So these are small green branches off of my citrus tree. And so these are green because they have leaves and they're still alive, but they're browns because they are woody. And so chop these up and throw them in. One thing you do have to be cautious about with certain plants is plants with acids and oils in them. For example, this citrus here, you don't want necessarily too much. I trim sucker growth off my tree once every 6 months, and that's about the most you want. The other things you have to be conscious of are the other plants that are growing in your yard. For example, we have a gum tree, or what a lot of folks call a eucalyptus tree. And so that is infused with oils. And those oils will actually hinder vegetable growth. And so the last thing you want to do is compost eucalyptus into your garden. The other nice thing about these is with a little sticky bit, it helps provide airflow in through the area. So go ahead and chop those down a little bit more. Press them down a little bit. Next, we're going to talk about green wastes. Your house and your yard are full of them. So, for example, and this is actually a bit of a combination of greens and browns, but in here I've got all of our waste from the kitchen. So paper towels, napkins, coffee grounds, which are browns, and then veggie cuttings, bulbs, things like that that have come off of leftover bits from salads, etc. What you want to make sure, though, when you're bringing stuff in from your garden, is that what you don't do is add dairy, meat, fats, etc. You only want organics in there. And I'm not talking organic, I'm talking organic material in terms of vegetation. So those we've gone ahead and added in there. And the next thing we're going to add is the bits that were pulled out of the garden last week. And so here we've got old eggplant. And one of the things that you do when you pull things out of your garden, leave some of the dirt on the root ball. Don't knock it all back into your garden. The reason for this is that what makes your compost work is actually microbial material, microbes, bacteria that exist in the soil. And so we go ahead and put all the green growth in. And as you can see, I had a lot of green in my garden. Go ahead and press that down a little bit. Again, like with the overgrown basil that I just threw in there, it's again a mixture of greens and browns. So it's good because it'll go across the entire mixture. Now, other things that we like to recycle here, and the goal of this really is to minimize the amount of waste that goes out and keep as much valuable material here at the house. So I have a baby girl, and my wife uses a product called G diapers. And the G diapers come with inserts that allow you to compost them. Now, you can only compost them if it's just pee, urea, which is uric acid, which is very good for a compost bin. If there's any pew-pews, then that needs to go down the toilet. Can't do much with that, particularly in a residential area. And then once you put in your greens, particularly kitchen waste, you want to make sure that you're not going to attract fruit flies or buggy bugs like that. And so my favorite top dressing for a compost bin is just shredded paper. And so this is, junk paper that comes home from the school with the kids. This is junk mail that comes in during the week. This is stuff that we don't want anyone else to see. And so basically it gets shredded up. And what I actually do is I keep the shredder next to the recycling bin so that when we go to put things in our recycling bin, we consciously decide, is this compost, is this true recycling? And the nice part about this is that through the process of doing that, what we found is with recyclable materials, basically all we have left in our recycling bin is things that we can't compost, basically plastic. So it reduces the amount of recycled materials taken off-site, but back out of the property significantly. And so once you've got this set up, all you really need to do is put some water in it and just get it wet. Don't soak it, just get it wet, and then put a lid on it. And then what we do as we're building this up is that every day we bring out all of our kitchen wastes, any brown materials we've gathered, we create a new layer until it's full, and it'll settle down too as well as it starts to work. And then basically it's just monitoring the temperature. But this is how we set up our compost bins. And so in roughly 4 to 6 months, we'll have a whole fresh set of compost ready for when we reseed the garden, and that will provide fertility for next year's worth of vegetables.